Let's see. Okay. All right, we're up and running, literally. Um, uh, Today is Wednesday. Somebody's hissing. It is 1 o'clock. A little bit of a late class. I had some shopping to do this morning, some running. I needed a break from AZA and ZAA. Actually applied for a job at Dallas Zoo, so I'm not sure if I should talk about AZA and ZAA publicly. But it comes up, you know. Anyway, so this week I think I was talking about as far as zoos, where I was at, you know, in my chronological timeline of jobs. I had a county job as a snake keeper, which is interesting because I am horribly phobic of snakes. I really am. My professor used me as an example on a field trip of what a true phobia looks like. Because he would catch snakes for the class, and yeah, I wasn't very receptive. So anyway, but as with any, you know, any type of fear, it's usually because you don't know enough about it. So for me, it's, you know, I just didn't know enough about snake behavior. And I learned that I've always been willing to learn about it. It's just, you know, that's why I helped when I worked at Staten Island, because they had such a large snake collection working with Danny and Matt. You know, and then when I had to work at the county job, you know, just having to go and grab the big pine snake. Couple times I was really freaked out. I used to hook a couple times because they, you know, they'd come at you, and I didn't agree with only having education animals fed once a month. I wasn't a fan of that. I wanted them fed at least twice a month, not once a month if you're taking them out for education. Yeah, so they were kind of snappy. So I wasn't a fan of that, but you know, whatever. It wasn't my say. I had a lot of filtration stuff I had to do. I had to do a lot of water changes. I had to call my friend from Moody Gardens, Kat. You know, send her pictures. What is this? There was like canister filters. I had no idea what they were. No one told me anything. It's just, all right, you have experience, you go do it. And then when they hired the other guy back, they kind of yelled at me for doing the same job that I was hired to do originally. So they kind of just phased me out, pushed me out, cut my hours. So yeah, that wasn't cool. You know, but it happens to me. So yeah, so that's what I did. And then today, we're going to talk about the Lone Star tick. Okay, Lone Star because the females have that spot in the middle. Lone Star State has that star. They have that spot. They're all over Texas, of course, and they are pretty darn common in New Jersey. I would say that they're probably, at least where I go, at least Central Jersey, they're probably the number one tick that you're gonna find on you, next to your dog tick. And as you can see, they're pretty good at what they do. They kind of just hang out, and they just wait, and they hook on. They have their leg up, and they're waiting to just hook onto you. So yeah, that's a good picture of what they do. I'm not going to talk about limes. I really don't know. I'm not going to try to BS my way through stuff that I am not totally familiar with. There's a lot of different ticks that carry a lot of different diseases. Lyme's disease is relatively new within well, I guess not. I guess it's been around 40 years now. Now that I'm thinking about it. And it's relatively easy to treat, you know. You just need a simple, cheap antibiotic. You know, but who knew? So your Lyme's is just, you know, your classic bullseye. But not all cases present with it. It is cyclic. You can have one test, that's fine. A couple tests, you know, later, and, you know, it's a false positive. So yeah, it's kind of tricky to diagnose. I'm more familiar with the red meat allergy, the alpha-gal allergy, because I kind of have it through process of elimination. So that's why I kind of know more about it. I'm more familiar. There is stuff that doesn't make sense to me because I didn't do too well in systems physiology. I got a D. But that was my fault. I took it before I took biochem. I should have taken biochem and organic 1 and 2 before, but I didn't. I just went into systems phys, 300 level or 400 level or whatever it was. So yeah, it's you know, it's out there. So your Lone Star tick, we'll talk about ticks first. Your tick has 8 legs, which makes it an arachnid. The body parts are kind of weird. This piece of hair is just bothering me. There we go. Ticks are kind of weird because they don't really have defined body parts. So your spider clearly has a cephalothorax and an abdomen. It's there. And there's also segmentation in between. They have a little bit of a waist, a petiole. These guys, they're pretty flat. They're pretty streamlined for what they do. So there's really no defined segments. There's no defined division between what we would call cephalothorax and an abdomen. But depending on the literature, that it is recognized that they have two body parts that are separated by a cuticle. So they're in the family with mites. Mites, you'll find, are those red things that are on, like, the bricks outside, little tiny things, or they're on my roaches. My histers have mites. Your big, huge African millipedes have mites. Your eyebrows have mites. Your demodex. So they're in that family somewhere. Again, they're arthropods. Break it down to arachnids. So they have chelicerae, the same as your spiders. And they just have modified, they're totally streamlined, modified to do what they do. They're an ectoparasite, ecto meaning outside. So they're found outside of the body, ecto, outside, endo, inside. And they do carry a number of different diseases depending on what their hosts are. So normally a lot of them have different hosts depending on their life cycle. So it goes, you know, they hatch from an egg. Hi, Cass, Melissa. So they'll go from an egg to a larva, to a nymph, you know, a smaller tick, to the adult tick that you see. So the adult tick, the female adult tick, is the one that you're going to find on you, the bloodsuckers, because they need the blood to, just like the female mosquitoes, the blood helps them have the protein to lay the eggs. They lay a ton of eggs. So the final host for the Lone Star tick is any kind of mammal, but we'll say it's a human in this case, okay? So your Lone Star tick, just to give you an example, if you went outside in ivy, like in your backyard, and just walked around, you'd probably pick up a ton. You'd probably pick up a few. They're so prevalent. They're so, they're really well at adapting to cold, they love the cyclic. They love the wet, cold, warm. They love that stuff. So just because you have a cold front, like how we had that freeze like last week, that ain't going to do anything. They're really good at hibernating. They're good at overwintering, because I think the life cycle, a complete life cycle, takes like 2 or 3 years. So it takes a while to complete. So they're pretty hardy. I actually have, I'm kind of weird. So I have a container like this, airtight, well, mostly airtight, and it's going on a week. And when I went down to Lawrence Harbor last week, or whatever it was, Cliffwood, and I picked off like 10 of them on me just from walking to try to get to the beach area. I cut through on the side, and I picked off like 10. They're still alive from like a week later, the adults. But I left them in the car. So I can't show you, but they're tiny. So yeah, they're very hardy. But with this alpha-gal thing, so this meat allergy, I guess I'll just share my story. So it happened maybe, I don't know, I guess I was still playing soccer. So I guess maybe 3 years ago. The weird thing with this allergy, meat allergy, where people die and anaphylaxis and all this stuff, which I used to go on the Facebook forums and make fun of people, like, you're not going to die from this. And, well, yeah. The weird thing is that, the reason why people miss it is because, hi Joanne, is because it's not immediate. So I'm starving to death, so I'm gonna be rude and eating. So you know how you eat something, especially peanuts, for people that are allergic to peanut butter. So you eat it, right? And usually, immediately, someone that's allergic to peanut butter, crunchy, they would start to feel the tingling in their whatever that peanut butter context, the lips, the tongue, the mouth, down here, their throat. And if they have that bad allergy, stuff is going to start swelling. That's why your throat closes. It's just because everything is swelling up. And it's almost immediate. Okay, so again, with our with the other classes that I do with the venom stuff, we talk about local reactions. We talk about systemic. So the allergy that we're looking for is systemic. So just because you're eating it, you're going to see, that would be local, because it's contained. But it becomes systemic because you start to have reactions all over. Your breathing is affected. You get a rash. You get itchy. So, so it becomes everywhere. Okay, so that's your start of anaphylaxis. So for me, my process of elimination, I went through a lot of different things to test it. Go figure, right? When you don't have insurance to go to an allergist, you kind of do trial and error. So my trial and error, I did a lot of different things, and I noticed it would happen right after a run, that I would get these rashes. This is on I think that's on my arm, so I would get these welts and rashes. Here's my arms, this part of my arms. So I'd get, and if you're on Facebook, you see me post this stuff as it happens, because I do stuff like that. So my eyes would swell up, my eyelids. I had one, my tongue swelled up. That was a good one. My eyes swelled up. All this stuff. Best dressed. Yeah, I don't care. That would be Tyler anyway. That's a given. Here's another horrible picture of me. My eyes swell. But usually what happens is, what I noticed is intense itching. And when I say intense itching, it's like you want to rip the skin off. There's no relief. So the itching starts at the feet. For me, it started at my feet while I'm running. That's, and then it goes to your hands. Okay? And you don't know that you're turning all red also. And that your torso is starting to develop welts. Okay? So I had no idea what the hell was going on. And, you get this intense, there's no words that can describe it. If you think chicken pox was itchy, this was nothing. So it's the kind of itching that you want to just rip the skin right off the bone, the tissue off the bone, because it's that itchy. There's no relieving it. And then the itching goes to your torso, which is already covered in welts. And when I say swelling, I'll just say this: whatever is the part of your torso swells. Whatever is there swells, at least on me. And my fingers didn't swell, my toes didn't swell, just my torso and whatever was within that region swelled. Okay. And I'm talking like swelled. There's that, I forget what movie it was, the one with with Will Smith, where he has this shellfish and his face is all distorted. It was kind of like that, but so there's all these welts on my torso, and then it goes to the head. Okay, and then this starts swelling up, the eye starts swelling up, the lips start swelling up. So when the lips start swelling up is kind of when I kind of get weird. Anything around your face, you kind of don't want a reaction there, because you don't want it, to affect your throat. So most of the time, I made it home or made a phone call, come get me, and then I swallow usually half a bottle of Benadryl, and then after like 2 hours it subsides, and then after maybe 4 hours it totally disappears. The problem is that I couldn't, I'm like, okay, well, I don't eat, right before I run usually, because, duh, I'm gonna get sick. I'm not doing anything different. For a while I thought it was hand sanitizer that was in the porta potty. Then I was like, well, I didn't use the porta potty. And then I was actually going to call Johnny on the spot and ask them if they changed their hand sanitizer. So it wasn't that. Then I was like, well, okay, maybe it's exercise induced. Maybe I'm allergic to my sweat. Okay, did I just see something? That was weird. I thought I saw a cricket. Never mind. Well, it could have been. Anyway, so it wasn't my sweat, because, I played soccer indoor and I was fine. And then I had another episode where I kind of put it together. So we would go out, at Tab Ramos, whatever. We'd play, and we went out, and I had sliders. This was like 10:30 at night or something like that, late game. And by the time I got home, I think or was it when I got home, or maybe I slept or something like that, but it was a couple hours later, and I swelled up, my eyes swelled up, everything got itchy. It was the same reaction, so I kept getting this reaction. So I kind of put it together that maybe it is this meat allergy thing. So then I started experimenting. Like, all right, well, so that was, so basically if I have a hamburger, any kind of red meat, which is pork, beef jerky, a hamburger, ham, bacon, any kind of red meat, if I eat that like an hour after I run, that's the danger zone. Usually an hour and a half, I'm okay. Or if it's, I think, about 2.5 hours before running is kind of tricky, that, if I'm going to swell up or not, or have the reaction. So the issue, so that's what I noticed, okay? And that's what I follow. So if I know if I have like a pack of beef jerky, I can't run. I love my beef jerky. And it doesn't matter how much I have. I could have like a little tiny sliver, thinking that I'm okay, and then go for a run, and no. Usually after a mile, not even a mile, and I just know, that intense itching, that itching that starts at the feet, that you're in trouble. So the last time that I tested this was, I think it was Memorial Day. I had like a slice of ham or something like that, and I went for a run, and I thought that was the time that I was going to have to go to an ER. because I was about 2 miles from the house, and it was rough. Everything started swelling. I got lightheaded. I got dizzy, and I wasn't anywhere near home. I didn't have a telephone. I was like ready to stop people on the street to bring me home. So yeah, so I could see how it can get to the point where, you know, someone does go into anaphylaxis, and, you know, stuff starts to happen. You know, you can't breathe, your diaphragm freezes, stops working, and you also get a low blood pressure. Your blood pressure drops. So yeah, I just remember chugging the Benadryl, and I said, Ma, you know, you might have to take me. This might be it. And I just put my head down for about a half hour, you know, concentrating on breathing. And yeah, that was the last bad reaction. I've gotten reactions, you know, after that I don't take Benadryl right away. I kind of document it. You know, I don't know. It's kind of weird, but that's what I do. And then once it gets to the point that I can't tolerate the itching, or, you know, I look like sloth or something like that, then I take the Benadryl. But yeah, I usually always have the liquid Benadryl on me. I should have an EpiPen, but the uninsured, you know. So anyway, so what is this alpha-gal thing, right, that you hear in addition to red meat? So the reason why it's on this delay, from what I've read, is that most allergies are from a protein, okay? So you're allergic to the protein. It's a protein that's introduced into your body. This one, it's a sugar, okay? So you got to follow me. It's going to get kind of tricky, okay? So it's a carbohydrate that the tick picks up. So the tick bites an animal that has this carbohydrate in it, this sugar, okay? That's, you know, part of its makeup. And I believe it's old world, it's primates, which includes us, apes, the great apes. I think old world, I'm not sure if new world, I think it's old world primates don't have this sugar, this carbohydrate, so they probably get the reaction too. See, I feel itchy already. I just ran, so if I were to have, I probably should have had a piece of bacon so you guys could see the reaction in the person, in the live. So, you know, the primates, they don't have this sugar. So what happens, you have this tick bites an animal that has that carbohydrate as a component of, I don't know, their blood or their system, whatever. And it stays in that tick. And then that tick bites you. And we know ticks, they kind of inject stuff into you. They inject, like mosquitoes, in their saliva. They have a blood thinner. And they also have some kind of, my nail just cracked. They have some kind of another thing with their saliva that helps them stick to you. Okay? But if they pick up that sugar from the animal that they bit before you, that gets injected into you. So that carbohydrate is the foreign body, and that is the it sounds like something from Star Trek. Galactose alpha 1,3 galactose. So alpha-gal for short. Okay. So galactose, we know that sounds like a sugar, so there you go, alpha, you know, that's your thing, and it's just the way that it's arranged, your carbons and stuff. So alpha-gal for short. So the alpha-gal is introduced into you, and then that's where the fun starts. So usually for the little kids, I bring out the army men, okay, so we'll do that. And again, this is what happens with any type of allergy. You have your army men, your antibodies, right? And because it's something new, they freak out. So you have all these army men, your antibodies just your immunoglobulin E's, your IgEs all come to the rescue, okay? And it just freaks out your system. It overwhelms your system. That's why you get the welts, the itchies, the hot, the red. You want to puke. You want to, poop your brains out. Just everything. Just you feel awful. So yeah, that happens. The Benadryl acts. It's an antihistamine, so it's an anti-army men basically. So it calms the army men down. It doesn't it doesn't necessarily stop them. It kind of just slows them down. It's like, all right, just calm down. So that's kind of what the Benadryl does, right? But the weird thing, again, with this reaction is it's not immediate. So how I had the peanut butter, again, if I had an allergy to the peanut butter, it would be almost immediate, okay? Whereas with this one, mine is exercise-induced for whatever reason. I don't know. That's just what I noticed. But for people that either don't exercise or it's not exercise-induced, mine comes on a little bit quicker because of the exercise, and that has its own mechanism behind it. It has to do with weird stuff. I'm basal cells, and I'm not doing that. We're not going into immunology here. If Arturo was here, I might have to have him come in on this. He would probably enjoy this conversation. He's probably sleeping now. He works the overnight. So the 8 hours, the reason why, it's usually 4 to 6 hours for non-exercise induced alpha-gal meat allergy. And and what it's thought, from what I've read, is that, again, because it's not a protein, which is what most allergies is what you're allergic to, the protein, a new protein that's introduced to you, and because this one is a sugar, it takes a bit more to be absorbed. So when I read that it has to be absorbed, to me that means it has to go through your intestine. So not just your stomach, but in your intestine, and that takes time, okay? So that makes sense that it would take the 4 to 6 hours by the time it gets into your intestine, because that would be when it gets absorbed. But I always thought that sugars get absorbed get used up pretty quickly. So I'm not sure. There seems to be some questions as to the exact mechanism behind it. And there are other ticks that can potentially carry the alpha-gal, which makes sense. I mean, it's not just, they're biting other stuff than biting you. It would just be a matter of how the tick retains that carbohydrate, where in their body it is. So it's a protein. They're not injecting bacterium into you, a spirochete. They're not injecting, a virus into you. It's just that carbohydrate that they picked up from another animal that they're passing on to you. And because we're primates, we don't have that in our body naturally. Our bodies produce that reaction, or an allergic reaction to it. Does that make sense? So that is why, you see that. And, again, these guys, we didn't have these guys like 10 years ago. Now we do. They're just everywhere now. So yeah, again, there's other ticks that have, that inject other stuff into you, that they pick up from other hosts, but they're different. It's usually some kind of another organism. This one, it's a sugar that they're picking up and injecting into you. So it's a little different. Again, it's called alpha-gal for short. Oh, here it is. Alpha-gal that is found in all mammals except apes, which is us. We're great apes, related to gorillas and stuff. They're the great apes. Humans and old world monkeys. So old world would be stuff in Africa and stuff, not your I guess your cotton tops, not your little tiny primates and everything. Your little nocturnal annoying primates, which is interesting, right? I'd have to think about that one. as to why. And then I think it said, you know, again, there's other ticks that carry this. You have this tick, carries other diseases. I think one of the encephalitis things it carries. And I don't see why it can't carry Lyme also. Again, depending on how it bites or what host it bites, where it, how it retains, if that organism gets into it, you know, if it injects it back out through its saliva. But again, what it said with the Lone Star is that it's not a very high prevalence of Lyme. And again, this tick would have to have bitten another host before you that had that that sugar in it. So if it bit another human before you, you're okay because it doesn't have that, you know, but chances are it was probably feeding on something else in another stage of its life. Because again, they do have different hosts depending on the stage that they're in. So I hope that explained a little bit with that. But yeah, so these are all pictures of me, and there's a lot more too. Again, if you follow my regular Facebook, I usually document as it's happening. So yeah, usually you get the welts, the torso, my whole forehead. This all is red and itchy, intense itching your scalp, and then usually one side of my lip, and then my eyelids. My eyelids get it really bad. So yeah, I needed a break from the AZA and the ZAA talk. Maybe we'll do it tomorrow. I have another class at 2. I have a butterfly class on OutSchool. So again, I'm doing classes on there. So you know, you can have your kids sign up for that. There's a link. It's similar to this. It's just more interactive. You know, more on a kid level. So I have, I think, like 7 classes that I'm doing through there. So yeah, so we'll see when I go back to work how long we'll be doing this for. And yeah, so that's it. So that was our tick talk today. I don't know if I'm going to do more about ticks. Again, I'm not totally comfortable with pushing through tick stuff because it's a little beyond me. I'd have to do a lot more reading, a lot more research, you know, to understand tick stuff. Because there's so much, you know, ticks are horrible. Parasites are just horrible. I like parasites, but they're just so complicated. I'm more familiar with the internal parasites than the external ones. Again, a Toro, if you happen to hear this one, your input would be delightful. I'll have to holler at him, wake him up. But anyway, so that was today, and all right, that's it. So 1:30. Have a good rest of the day. Have a good week. And we will be back here tomorrow. All right, thank you.